So today we are going to be looking at Raphael's Virgin in the Meadow. So first of all, about the artist. So the Italian painter Raphael was born in 1483, and this was during the Italian Renaissance. He was a well-known painter and architect in his later years, and his work is recognized for its clarity of form, its ease of composition, and his incorporation of Italian Renaissance styles and themes. He was known to work inside very large workshops, in which he created a large body of work. Most of his works ended up inside the Vatican Palace, including his most famous, the School of Athens. And the School of Athens was one of 4 frescoes inside of the Vatican. He is also considered among the best artists of his era, with the other great artists including Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. They are often called the Trinity of Great Masters of the Italian Renaissance. And Raphael's first major commission came from Pope Julius II. His biggest job was painting the frescoes in the 4 rooms of the Vatican. And then after Pope Julius died, Raphael began working with the new Pope Leo X. Raphael became a head architect under Pope Leo and helped construct St. Peter's Basilica in 1514. The title of the work is the Madonna del Prado. So it's also known as the Virgin in the Meadows, according to Gombrich in the textbook. And so Madonna del Prado is a classic example of Raphael's Renaissance-based style. In it, he depicts the Virgin Mary, Christ, and also John. And when you look closely, you notice how the Virgin Mary is wearing a red dress, which is very symbolic of Christ's death. And she also has a blue mantle, which represents the church. You can also notice how both Christ and John are looking into each other's eyes, and Mary is looking down on all of them, which shows the link between each of them.
This specific piece was created in 1505 to 1506. The Italian Renaissance encompassed the idea for Raphael to create the Virgin in the Meadow. This piece could not have been created before that time because oil painting was not yet invented. Works from this time look more realistic than before. At the time the painting was created, religion played a key role. In the photo, one can see that there are many objects that create triangles. These triangles are a style that was popular during this time. The repetition of the triangles creates a balance. Some people say that the triangles stand for the Holy Trinity. When looking at the picture, you can see that one triangle can be made from the Virgin Mary, John the Baptist, and Jesus Christ. Another triangle that can be seen is the Virgin Mary and the 2 clouds above her head. The material of the work is oil, and it can be defined as a painting. The Virgin in the Meadow is made on wood. The importance of the material relates with the time it was made. Not only was the development of perspective in oil painting established at this time, but also linear perspective and other techniques. These techniques render a more natural look. Raphael uses perspective to make the landscape look further away. This background enhances the peacefulness of the painting. The use of oil makes the painting look more sincere rather than if charcoal was used. It adds to the tender scene depicted of the Virgin watching St. John the Baptist and Jesus Christ. A light color palette was used to keep the scene sincere.
The physical size of the actual painting is about 113 centimeters by 88 centimeters, or 44 inches by 35 inches, so approximately 4 feet by 3 feet if we're rounding. And there's nothing really out of the ordinary for this painting, especially since it is a portrait during the Italian Renaissance. The size is necessary to incorporate more detail and include more elegant backgrounds as well, which were equally important. And the reason that these painters during the Renaissance were able to incorporate so much more detail is usually attributed to the fact that oil painting can be worked with for a longer period of time, and therefore it can be manipulated easier than the other styles of painting, such as tempera, which would dry much faster. The subject in the foreground is much larger and takes up a majority of the picture in relation to the meadow that is depicted behind the Virgin and John the Baptist and Jesus Christ. This use of larger size, especially in the foreground of the painting, emphasizes the aerial perspective that Raphael is using and keeps the focus on the Virgin herself rather than the actual background. The location of the painting during the time was in Belvedere, Vienna, which was a historic building that is now a museum located in Austria, and it is now displayed in Kunsthistorisches Museum, which is also in Austria. The main audience was most likely religious folk who were most likely illiterate and unable to read certain scriptures from the Bible, and therefore these paintings helped them associate certain important figures of the Bible with actual images. And of these images, the Madonna, or the Virgin Mary, was often seen as one of the most important and influential figures in the religious text. So the reason that this was often used as a subject to paint was to, one, not only give a visual representation of an important figure from the Bible, but it was also the artist's way of expressing just how skilled he was artistically, since one would have to be very skilled in order to paint such an important and beautiful figure from the Bible. The current purpose is somewhat similar to the purpose that it was used for during the Renaissance, although the audience is much more likely to be an art connoisseur who can better appreciate the different designs and lines and different techniques that Raphael used to make this a true masterpiece.